show them what we got, guys.
And now, Ravenstar'S Witching Hour with your host, Solaris Blue-Raven.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ravenstar'S Witching Hour. I am your host and head witch, Solaris Blue-Raven at the helm this evening. I want to give a shout out to everybody here at Revolution Radio, staff, producers, listeners, chat room, and thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. We are 100% listener supported, so if you like what you're hearing, click the donate button, and we certainly appreciate your support, and thank you for any contribution you can make to this excellent station here on Revolution.radio. And I have a wonderful guest for y'all this evening. Also, I'm joined by my lovely co-host tonight. I know she's going full speed ahead. Miss Zoe Greystone, Miss B's with me tonight as a co-host. And we have Russ Tanner joining us. It's a pleasure to have him back. And Russ Tanner is founder and president of Herb Allure Inc., a company that publishes scientific research about herbs, nutritional supplements, and essential oils. He is also the founder of the Global Skywatch website, which raises awareness about the many dangers of geoengineering. Russ has suffered and recovered from mercury toxicity and educates others on how to do the same. He has been interviewed on numerous radio and internet programs and has published articles and given lectures on the dangers of amalgam fillings, mercury toxicity, geoengineering-related illnesses, and geopolitics. His website is globalskywatch.com. We're going to get into some stuff that's going on in the illusion of space-time here, some crazy, and I'm certainly very grateful for him. Please welcome Russ Tanner, and of course, hello, Ms. Zoe Greystone, to the show tonight.
Hello. How are you?
I'm right here.
Good to hear from you both again. It looks like a full house here. That's awesome.
Yeah, we
Great to
do.
see.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful to hear your voice. And Zoe, a great show prior to mine coming up.
Thank you.
I
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I feel
That's
so
great
bad.
to
I
have you.
completely forgot that I had asked Olin to fill in because Ren Harper couldn't make it, and then I forgot, and so I was like, oh god, what do I talk about tonight? Like my brain is still a little bit scrambled from the last couple of days, so it's just been a mess. But I'm sorry. I hope you can hear me. But it's nice to be here and hang out with you guys. I'm glad it was a good show. I'm so thankful for Olin coming in and being like, hey, did you still want me tonight? And it was like, yes, yes I do, please. So I'm really glad to have him up there, and I'm really excited that he is doing so well with his books. I'm very happy for him. So yeah,
That's wonderful.
It's nice to hear
Awesome.
from
Well,
you
thanks
again.
for joining us too.
Yeah.
And also, if you needed like a break or anything, I know you just did 2 hour shows. Just let us know.
Yeah, no problem.
Truth,
I'm
like,
currently trying to get all the information for you guys to put up in the stream.
sweet.
I can't find any of the information about Russ that I posted. It's just
Oh,
missing.
well, is that not a surprise? Well, perhaps we'll get into that right now. Russ, you want to give everybody a rundown as far as what's been going on in your radius?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, basically, with all the things going wrong, it sounds like 2026 has hit us hard. I don't know if anybody else is feeling it, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
ready to just skip on past and go to 2027 if anybody
Yep.
can feel what I'm saying, because I'll tell you what, it has gotten off to quite a start. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on the personal front, well, by the way, it's nice to hear from you again, Zoe.
Yeah.
It was nice. Yeah, it was nice talking with you back a little while ago. That was great getting to know you. I've never met you before. So, yeah. So I've been banned from Facebook. That was the big thing that kicked off my new year.
Insane.
I Oh yeah, yeah. So this is I mean I've had little run-ins and little restrictions here and there before, but this was like kind of way out of left field. It just all of a sudden it was really funny because it said that I was restricted and I can appeal the decision. I said, yes, I'd like to appeal the decision. Of course, this is all their automated system. And then the appeal process sounded so friendly. I thought it was going to go so well. It said, "Hey, in order to, in order to recover your account, we just need you to give us your phone number." Now, my account's 19 years old, so I didn't have a phone number associated with it, back before they started doing that. So I gave the phone number, and then they sent me a code. Everything was good. And then and then I got a new screen said, "You need to send us a selfie, a current
Ugh.
selfie." And I'm like, what? And I'm checking the URL, like, is this Facebook doing this? Why do they need a selfie of me? This sounds really weird. It was you. So I went ahead and did the selfie, and at the bottom it had that really, really encouraging wording, like this will help. This will help you get your Facebook account back. And I'm like, okay. And then they came to the new screen and said, you need a government issued ID or driver's license or passport. And I'm like, what? What, are you kidding me? So I was like, I looked at it. It was Facebook. I'm like, and at the bottom they said, we need this to get your account back. I'm like, okay, okay. So I went ahead and sent that off to them, and promptly thereafter, a few minutes later, they said your account has been permanently disabled and you cannot appeal this decision.
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
understand that at all.
Yeah, yeah. And I've got
Mhm.
70. Yeah, it's very frustrating. I mean, because on a personal note, I have all my friends and family, my bandmates from Florida. I mean, most of the family I'm in touch with is in Florida and friends. And I've got 7,600 followers. I've got about 35 groups. Many of them have over 10,000 members. The Global Skywatch group there has been exploding since all the public awareness about geoengineering, chemtrails has exploded. So our group was literally, when I got banned, we were getting every 10 days, we were getting about 1,500 members every 10 days.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it exploding. Yeah,
That's
15.
why. Yeah.
Yep. I had 7,600 followers. I had another Mercury support group with 17,500 people. In other groups that add up to tens of thousands of people. And now I have no control over it whatsoever. And I'm even head of I'm the admin for my alumni group, which has 10,000 people in it. So for my high school alumni and my junior high school alumni. So yeah, so it's been a real, it's yeah, I don't even know the emotions I went through in the beginning because I rely on it so heavily.
Sure.
Were Yeah, it was really tough to deal with. So not
What,
to not to
like, what triggered it? Do you think it was a specific post or something? I mean, what do you think happened?
The only thing that I have been doing more recently is that there was a doctor on there called Dr. Hushner, I think his name is. He's very popular, and he's actually part of the McCullough Foundation. And so the McCullough Foundation is like almost every other day they're producing a video that's showing how bad vaccines are. That every study they're doing is showing that vaccinated children are more sick than unvaccinated children. They have more health problems. They get sick more often. They actually get the diseases that they're vaccinated for, which, of course, no surprise to me. But what I was doing is I was sharing that. Whenever he would have a video came out, I decided I kind of felt like there was a lot of people, I have a lot of people that were following or really sharing a lot of stuff that I felt like 5 years ago we couldn't get away with. So I said,
Mm-hmm.
well, you know what? I think I'm going to start sharing this. I'm going to be a little less careful and start sharing this stuff. So, that's the only thing I can come up with was maybe the algorithm caught on to that. I really don't know. So,
Disgusting. I'm so sorry to hear that. But like I said, that's not going to stop you. You just keep going. I hope that your followers can at least go to your website, right?
yeah, well, anybody can come to the website, definitely, but it's kind of disheartening because I've got 7,600 people there, 10,000, well, over 10,000 people in global, and other, just tens of thousands of people that I have no way of contacting, and I have
Mm-hmm.
no explanation. Facebook, of course, not only provides you no explanation, but there you can't talk to anybody. There's literally my business partner Laura, who's a researcher. She and I spent the entire Sunday, this last Sunday, researching, searching, watching videos, reading the accounts of other people this has happened to, of which there are very, very many, many people have
Mm-hmm.
had this happen to them. And there is literally no way to contact anybody at Facebook. So,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, so
Facebook
the
did
only
that with
thing,
that.
exactly, exactly. There's one little method that I'm going to try Sunday or Monday where you can actually, I have an Instagram account, which I do nothing with, but you can actually pay Meta, which is the parent company to
Mm.
Facebook, to get verified, and they will actually allow you to do a chat, like a text chat with somebody at Meta. And I found a couple people online who did get their accounts back doing that, but you have to pay Facebook $12 or $14 a month to be verified. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
that's
So
interesting. Yeah.
Like
stupid.
they need the money, right?
Yeah, I mean,
We were talking about Musk and his thing, with X, he charges people. They don't need it, obviously. So, but that's worth a try. I mean, I would look into it if you feel guided, like, you want to reestablish that. I just find it interesting. And, and to this day, they still call it like conspiracy. Okay. So they're still calling all the chemtrails, oh, they're just, like your vapors. They're literally in denial. So maybe that's part of the equation in a sense, but I don't know how they can dispute this stuff when you can literally smell it and feel it, and it has a side effect to it. I mean, I think I mentioned to you, Zoe and I were talking about this the other day. So we both had this. The burning rubber smell was outside my house in the morning, and I think Zoe, you said you smelled the same thing
Mm-hmm.
in your location, and she's a different state, obviously. But yeah, it's craziness, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, people who say to me like, I actually have family members who say, well, you're a conspiracy theorist, and I'm like, I am an observer. I'm a firsthand witness. I smell and taste all these types. I witness the symptoms that are associated among myself and everybody around me. Everybody has symptoms. They just don't know it. Anything from oh, I feel a little bit off, to stomach problems, to headaches, to vision problems, to dizziness, to all kinds, to nausea, all kinds of problems happen within a few minutes of getting hit, to all these people who don't smell or taste it. So it's not a conspiracy. It's a first-hand witness. And not only that, but we have lab studies. We have whistleblowers, we have scientists, and for goodness sakes, we even have celebrities. A bunch of celebrities have come out talking about this, saying that they believe it. Prince came out talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
and he was not with us a couple years after he made those statements. I don't know if they're connected, but he had a long life to live, I think.
Yeah,
But I don't
I
know.
think so.
Yeah,
Well, how
yeah.
did he die in the illusion of death? I don't remember what the cause was. Do you?
Uh,
I
Okay.
he was murdered for sure. He allegedly had an overdose of
Hmm.
um one of those pain meds. I always forget, Percocet. No,
Wow.
something. It was a pain relief.
Hmm. It's
uh,
not the Michael Jackson drug, is it?
accidental overdose of fentanyl is what I'm reading right
Oh,
now. Is that?
fentanyl.
Oh wow, I
Yeah.
Wow.
didn't even realize that. Yeah, they said he had. People were saying that he had an addiction to like some kind of an oxy. It was man,
Hydrocodone and paracetamol, I
that's the
think.
one, hydrocodone. Yeah,
Yeah.
and people were like, "Oh yeah, he was addicted. He was doing drugs." I was like, "He had hip problems and was prescribed that." And from what I remember, much like Michael Jackson, he was certainly given far more than was necessary. But he was telling people like, "They're gonna kill me." Like they're going to kill me. And people were like, okay, whatever, dude. And he was like, no, dude, they're gonna whack me. And when I saw the video released, where he was in the elevator calling, I don't remember who it was. He was in the elevator and saying, like, they're coming for me. They're, like, right around the corner. They're, like, I can see them, like, they're coming at me. And then someone walks into the elevator with him, and I think it was, like, his lawyer at the time or his publicist. And the next thing you know, police are showing up, and he's in the elevator just out cold on the ground, allegedly having an overdose. And people were like, oh, it's because he took too many drugs. And it's like, I think somebody forced that on him. And, I just, everything about that was super sus. Prince was supposed to work with somebody that I knew in Vegas, and I was supposed to be part of a project with them. And I never got to meet him. There was a lot of back and forth emailing and stuff at the time. I was really excited. He was really excited about the potential for the magic show that we were gonna do, and it was really exciting. I'm trying not to cry. It makes me so sad. I was so close to meeting Prince, who I absolutely adored, and I remember hearing rumors in town of people saying that he thought people were out to get him, that he was exposing secrets, that he was, like, telling all these crazy conspiracies and talking all crazy, and people were looking at him funny, and something about that still strikes me as strange, that nobody took it seriously, because Prince didn't come off to me as somebody who was erratic or crazy. You know, he didn't seem like somebody who was overly emotional, and he didn't seem like somebody who was ill-informed. And I know that he and Michael Jackson didn't really get along, but they were sort of exposing the same things. And I remember after Michael Jackson died, everybody was kind of uncomfortable, and I remember Prince kind of backed up for a while and said that he wasn't going to work on some projects. He was going to stay close to home because he didn't know who he could trust. And then, like, the next thing you know, he's just ODing in the elevator. I thought that was very strange. Also, I find it very sus that it was fentanyl, because that seems to be a recurring serious problem suddenly, whereas I don't remember people talking about fentanyl before 2016, and now it's everywhere. That's how my friend died the other day, was he was given pills that were laced with fentanyl, and nobody knew. And so that by the time they figured out that's what was happening, there was nothing they could do. And, you know, fentanyl is becoming such a widely spread drug that I'm 100% sure is government funded and government pushed, because I don't think it would just show up the way that it did. I don't know. I have my own, you know, theories about that. But yeah, the fact that Prince was talking about that stuff and then he just gets taken out not long after is definitely had me on edge for a very long time personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no kidding.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, if you ever, the whole drug thing, I mean, if anybody ever wants to watch the Clinton Chronicles, they can learn all about the CIA, which has been exposed as the largest drug importer in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And they were flying it right into Mena, Arkansas, and a lot of it from South America. It was just astonishing. And when Clinton ran, they had a blood trail of blood, but they had 36 people. Most of them committed suicide. One of them committed suicide by shooting himself multiple times in, I guess, heart and head. Other people were committed suicide by literally tying themselves to railroad tracks. Of course, very tongue in cheek, but not in a don't mean to be lighthearted about it, but I mean, it's obviously these were all murders. Vince Foster and all that stuff. Yeah, it's stunning. But the drug import. If people want to learn about that and get a primer, it's an old video, but let me tell you, it's worth watching as a primer if people don't understand how the government imports drugs into the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Yeah, I know that for a fact too. Just because of certain people I've been involved with in the past, one's dad was CIA, and I know that they used to cocaine and such was being brought in, so I can validate some of that. That was back in the day, man. I used to go to Thailand and everything else, so I can't get into it. But that was a long lifetime ago. But I did have had an ear. I heard a lot of things. So
yeah, they make a lot of money. Make a lot of money, and they cause a lot of chaos, and they create a lot of problems, and that's how they profit, and they also achieve their agendas by artificially creating problems. So that's just one of many.
Right, and just like the whole idea behind this geoengineering aspect, I mean, who doesn't know we obviously have control over the weather insofar as being able to manipulate weather patterns. So they're still disputing that, though. That's what's so weird about this whole scenario. And the idea behind contrails or water vapors versus just a geoengineering or a chemical. Another thing, once again, they're just calling it out differently. And how do you tell them that you follow these planes and you see that they're not going to a destination, they're circling around and they're deploying all this stuff, and you see these vapors that are literally aerosols, and they're trying to say it's something else. I don't know what your comment is on that, but it's kind of interesting that they call it conspiracy when in fact it has nothing to do with that in any form.
Has nothing to do at all with it. I mean, this is actually happening, the poisoning of the entire globe. The governments are working together. I know when it started, as someone who smells it and tastes it. I remember the day it happened. I had 3 employees. 2 of us went out and they stayed after work looking outside with me at these trails in the sky. They're like, what is this? What is going on? And I could smell and taste it in the air. I got a headache, had to cancel my employee meeting because I was too sick. And to bring things more recent, this just hit us recently. Yes, they've been controlling the weather. They've been actually steering hurricanes. They were doing this in Vietnam. This is the head of the weather. We have got video on the Global Skywatch website of the guy who was actually head of the Air Force program doing this. They said with $10,000 worth of materials, they could degrade a category, I don't remember what it was, 3, maybe category 3 down to a tropical storm, something like that, with $10,000 in materials and basically eliminate the destructive power of a hurricane. And on a more recent note, Christmas Day on Facebook, if anybody wants a link to it and they're on Facebook, they can go to GSW, that stands for globalskywatch.bz/flu, FLU 2025. On Christmas Day in Bangor, I was in Bangor, Maine, and they started nailing us. I was with family. We were doing a Christmas thing, right? And all day long, I had to hold a wet washcloth over my mouth, which I don't like to do around family. I try to be more as normal as I can, but it was absolutely burning my throat and my nose, and I called it a type 2 biologic, which I've documented on the Global Skywatch website. And I told everybody, because I love telling them what's going to happen ahead of time. And I put it on Facebook and I said, there is going to be a huge flu outbreak because they are doing this all day long, which they rarely do. The last time they did it this consistently was in 2017. They started the night before Christmas Eve. They started nailing us. They did it for 2 weeks straight. We had what's called the Great Flu Outbreak of 2018. Anybody can look it up online. Well, this year, they started on Christmas Day. I think they might have started earlier because I'm not in Bangor every day. They might have started earlier than that. But let me tell you, all day long, they hit us with the type 2 biologics. It's actually a cousin of that, to be technical. I'll be writing an article about that eventually. But they hit us with that, and I started telling everybody, I said, they hit us all day long. If they continue this for 2 or 3 days, there's going to be a flu outbreak. And they did continue it for several days afterward, and we had the flu outbreak. So it was completely artificial, and it was across the United States. So it's the same thing they did in 2017 and 18.
Right. Yeah, I saw them. I think we had that conversation last time you were on my show. They were
Yep.
blasting the skies. It was during the holidays, always around the holidays. I see a lot of
Yep.
that going on.
Because
And
because
once
then they
again,
can say you
go
catch
ahead.
it from each other, Everybody
Right.
caught it from
Yeah.
each other, Yeah.
Complete contamination. And it's interesting, they dim the skies. You can feel it, you can smell it. It definitely has a side effect to it. And it's not just some kind of water vapor, ice crystals like they're discussing and trying to say. And I don't know if you want to expand on that and dispute it a little bit insofar as why they would say that. These things linger, they don't dissipate.
Well, it doesn't even matter. I mean, I've watched the sky since I was a young child. I used to collect pictures of aircraft. Literally, that's what I would not use my lunch money in elementary school for lunch. I would actually go to the library and make copies of pictures of jets and rockets.
That's so
And
cute.
so, well, that's what I did.
Adorable.
I was just into it.
So
I wanted to go to Mars. That was one of my little
oh,
elementary school dreams. I wanted to be one of the people that go to Mars and see the new planet. But the reason I say all that is that I have never in my life, in all the pictures I accumulated, I mean, I accumulated inches thick of paper copies with jets and rockets, and I had that for years. And I've also always watched the sky. I've lived in the busiest airspaces in history, and I have never, ever, not once, except at an air show where they do it intentionally, seen a trail come out of a jet. Not long, not short, not persistent, not non-persistent. I've never smelled the smells and tastes that are associated with the jets. I lived in here, and this is like part of why I think I'm born for this issue, is because I lived in Jamestown, New York, where you never see jets in the sky. And I'll cover this briefly because I know that I talked about this on the show last time too. But when I lived in Jamestown, New York, between like 2004 and 2008, they started hitting us in 2005, and you never see jets in the sky in Jamestown because there's no airport that can handle a sizable jet anywhere near. The Jamestown airport's too small. They can only handle small prop jets. So you never see jets in the sky. All of a sudden, 2005, they start slamming us. The sky is filled with these low-flying, unmarked jets that are leaving trails, gridding the sky, and 20 to 40 minutes after they pass over our heads, if they pass over my house, the smell and taste of metal and just burning sinuses, and then I get a headache, my ears start ringing, I get all the symptoms of chronic fatigue, and I had none of this. I was 100% healthy, no health issues whatsoever, and uh, within about just a few minutes of smelling this stuff and tasting it, my body absolutely goes into inflammatory mode, and I feel absolutely horrible. And that's what I said a few minutes ago about canceling my employee meeting. I had to literally cancel the day it began. I had to cancel the employee meeting, and they began to do it every single day. And just a few years later, in 2008, because it started in November 2005, on a daily basis, they were doing it sporadically before that, probably to get people used to it. But that's when they actually did it, where I smelled and tasted every single day on a 2-hour schedule. I had to move April 2008 because it was so bad I couldn't take it anymore. So that's literally the reason why I moved to Maine. I would still be in Jamestown if it wasn't for the spraying. So for all these people to say this is contrails, the other thing, and this is really important, is people have to understand that let's take a 747, because this is one of the things that has been converted into 747s are used by the Air Force as tankers. And so they can be converted, and they can store lots of liquid or lots of what are called semi-solids, which are very, very fine particles like toner. If people ever use toner, solid toner, that's not really a liquid, but it sloshes around in the toner bottle like a liquid because the particles are very, very small. Well, think about this for a second. This is physically impossible. They're saying a 747 actually uses 1 gallon of jet about every 1 gallon of jet fuel about every 1/10 of a mile. So what you're saying, these plumes, when you see the plumes go by, the plumes spread out uh, beyond the width of the wingspan of a 747, which is a football field. They spread out beyond the width of the 747. When I've seen the 747, which is not infrequently at all in this area, and so you're telling me that 1 gallon, or let's say 4 gallons of water, one for each engine, can produce a field of mist or ice crystals that is wider than a football field, sometimes 2 or 3 times as wide as a football field, 1/10 of a mile long, from 1 gallon of water, from 4 gallons of water, really, if you spread it out to the width. It's physically impossible. It's ridiculous, is what it is. And that's why when you start looking into the propaganda, and it is propaganda, because they don't think anybody looks deeper. If you look into propaganda, that's often how it works. They have a good cover story. It's got some truth to it, so people can't, if people don't look too deep, they don't think twice and like, okay, the cover story's true. But just look a little deeper. If you look deep enough, you'll find the lies. So think about that. 1 gallon, 1 gallon of water. They say, because and the other part, it goes deep, and I don't know how much time we want to spend on it, but when you really get into it, they're saying that 1 gallon of jet fuel produces 1.5 gallons of water vapor. So they're saying it's 1.5 gallons per engine for 1/10 of a mile. That produces these huge opaque plumes in the sky. But that's not even true, because 1 gallon of fuel doesn't produce that much, because when you combust it, you get mostly soot. You don't get a full, perfect combustion to water. That's called ideal combustion. That's chemically ideal combustion, which does not exist inside of a high bypass turbofan. So they're tweaking all the numbers to try to make it seem like it could possibly happen, but they're not even close when you actually start getting close and looking at what they're trying to claim. Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Well said on that one too. Zoe, you have any comment?
Uh, gosh, Not particularly. Mostly because I talked to Russ about some of this already, but some of it I can't say I'm surprised, but I am taken aback by a little bit of it because it's just like, damn, they're really just out here doing that with no what do you call it? No punishment or anything. Like people still think it's
Oh,
conspiracy
oversight.
theory, and it's just
Well, it's the terminology. Yeah, they're still going on and on about all that, you know. But those
yeah.
are those stupid little articles that are designed to bother people, just like the Facebook. I mean, honestly, it's amazing that after all these years, Russ, I mean, they pull his page down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you had a huge following, and I think that's part of the equation. People were understanding it and waking up. And like I said, I talk to people every day, and they're very aware of what's going on in our skies and how weaponized they've become. So they can dispute it all they want, but we know, and a lot of people have been logging and tracking as well, and also feeling the side effects. I think that's part of the equation is they're not feeling good. Okay, we're being, and you can't say we're not being poisoned as a collective here.
Right.
I find that there's too much toxicity here. Our water's poisoned. Everything's poisoned here at this point. It's amazing. And you're right. 2026. We were just saying, well, it's the year of the fire horse. So we thought, well, this could be really good and lots of good changes and all that. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's see.
God,
I don't know.
no kidding. Phew, it's
Uh,
Also, yeah.
but
Also, the lab tests. I mean, we have lab tests. Our dust tests are showing, and I know I've said this before, but for the people who are listening for the first time, we've done multiple lab tests on water, rainwater, and we have multiple lab tests on dust, just dust that's in the
mm-hmm.
air. And the dust here in rural Maine, out in the middle of nowhere, which should have nothing in it, should be pristine, clean, beautiful, has arsenic, lead, barium, strontium, mercury, gobs and gobs of aluminum, cadmium. These things are in every test that we've done. Our rainwater was showing 300 micrograms per liter of aluminum. 300 micrograms. The maximum safe for drinking water, according to the EPA, is 50. So it's literally six
Wow,
times higher than what is safe in drinking water.
insane.
And this is in rural. I mean, and the state agencies don't even report on this. I mean, they say, yeah, we're testing the air. In many states across the United States, they stopped testing for aluminum. In other places, they actually raised what they consider to be the safe level of aluminum rainwater. Well, why did that happen? Why would you do? Why, why is it so different now than it was, before 20 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
So it's because people are paying attention. And our group, our Global Skywatch group on Facebook, it's called Chemtrails Global Skywatch for anybody who wants to go join. After Tucker Carlson covered this subtopic, because Dane Wigington was actually on Tucker Carlson talking about this. That's when our group started exploding. That exposure just gave us tons of exposure, and literally the about the week and a half before my account was shut down, we were getting, like I said, we were getting 1,500 people in a 10-day span.
That's
I've
why.
never seen growth like that ever
Wow,
since I've been on Facebook in 19 years.
that's wonderful. It's a shame that I'm sure that was a flag for them, man. As soon as they saw that, oh, shut them down, shut them down. But that's how they are. As soon as you get traction, as soon as you get people starting to pay attention, and kudos on that in the sense of just getting it exposed with that interview. But nonetheless, it's up to a lot of those guys in mainstream media to be exposing this stuff and talking about it all the time.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, of course the big media is all bought and paid for as
Oh
we
yeah,
all know.
sure.
The people who are committing the crime of the century would never embark on this unless they controlled the census numbers, they controlled the information flow, they control social media. I mean, Facebook is CIA. We know that. If you look at other entities that allow people to talk to each other, it's absolutely astonishing when you start finding that Bill Gates is connected to CIA. You find out that all these people had parents in the agency, and they say
Mm-hmm.
this: once you're CIA, you're always CIA. And
Mm-hmm.
and whether or not that's
That's
true,
true.
people can debate about it. But nevertheless, the bottom line is you start seeing the same patterns over and over. It's the same players, the same people, the same games, the control of information. And they would never embark on a crime like this unless they knew that they could get away with it from the onset. And so they control it all. They control it
Mm-hmm.
all. Yeah.
Very true.
BlackRock. Yeah. Yeah. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. They knew what they were doing, and they have outsmarted the public. And it's time the public stands up and actually educates very quickly and gets involved.
Right. And of course, they've grown and expanded unbelievably when it comes down to this past few years. So those organizations are, a lot of tentacles now. That's for darn
Yeah,
sure. They're in
yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah. And isn't it interesting? I mean, can you imagine 20 years ago watching the Olympic halftime, or the Super Bowl halftime show, or the Olympic shows that they do between the breaks, like they do now? It's like, what
No.
is
Hmm.
this stuff? What, I mean, I don't know if you're keeping up with that, but what? It's just, that's a whole nother subject. It's
Oh, they
wild.
have. I haven't even. Well, I don't even watch a lot of that, but I'm sure it's bizarro. Um,
Yeah, no, I
something
don't.
to keep an eye. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, no, no. Go ahead. I don't watch sports or anything like that. I'd rather play it, but
Yeah, that's me.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Very,
But
very interesting though. But yeah, everything's dramatically changed, That's as simple as that. And yeah, I think, well, we're moving right into some really strange programs, when it comes down to what their agenda's about. We've got the 2030 thing coming up. And yeah, I don't know. This year's, I don't know what to say about it anymore. It's just, you think it's going to be switched into a higher gear and a little bit better to navigate. And it just seems like it's the gift that keeps on giving when it comes down to some of the strange that's happening here. So,
yeah, I think you're going to see a rapid acceleration of all these programs. In fact, I believe it's beginning right now. And I did talk about this back even before 2019. I told people that in 2019 there was going to be some big escalation. Things are going to happen. And this has to do, you can, if you know the big picture, you can kind of make some rough approximations about how things are going to work. So 2019 was a pivotal year, going into 2020, and now we're in 2026, and you're going to see an escalation now again. So everybody better buckle up. It's going to get very interesting, especially financial. There's going to be a lot of financial changes happening soon.
oh
I hope
yeah,
it's for
well,
the better because I am sick and tired of the financial place that my family and I have been
mhm.
stuck in for ages. My friends, I've seen people posting online about how just depressed and ready to tap out there because like just nothing seems to be improving. It just keeps getting worse. And I'm really hoping that 2026 is a better year for a lot of people because it's just it's becoming unbearable at this point. They're poisoning our food, they're
That's the whole
poisoning the
idea.
air, poisoning our minds. Like it's a lot.
That's the whole idea.
It's a
It's
lot.
like
Yeah.
compression. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Part of what makes the air thing so frustrating to me is that the thing is when you're dealing with nanoparticles have a much, much larger surface area, so they're very, very reactive in your body. So you could take, a few milligrams of aluminum that are normal particle size, be exposed to it, and you'll never know. Your body will deal with
Right.
it and get rid of it, and it'll be done with it. But if you take that same amount of material and you turn it into nanoparticles, the surface area is much, much, much larger, and so becomes much more reactive and destructive in the body. Whether it's cadmium, it doesn't matter what the material is, it becomes much more reactive. So here's the problem: is detection. So people go and get a hair test. I think hair tests are very valuable, or they go get a blood test. Blood tests are valuable for some things and not valuable for other things, but if you know how to use them, they can be helpful. The problem with nanoparticles like this is that you might show just slightly elevated, maybe a little bit of extra cadmium, but you're still in the normal range. But the difference is that cadmium, lead, zinc, whatever they're spraying us with, which we know are all of the above and more, are nanoparticles. So they're very, very reactive. But your charts, your blood test, your hair test look fine. You look okay, but you're still sick and nobody can figure out why. And that's one of the very intelligent, albeit evil things that they did, is choose to use nanoparticles because I think for many reasons, but for one of the reasons is people don't detect it in their blood. If
Hmm.
think about if the whole population started seeing all of certain toxic metals in their blood elevated, that's another thing that they had to think about before they began a program like this. Their answer to that was nanoparticles. We can use much, much smaller amounts, get much, much higher reactivity, and nobody will notice.
Very true. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, very good conductor too when it comes down to nanotech, self-replication technology. So there's a whole different formula in association with that inside the body, the biosuit. I know that. So yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
You can. Go
go
Yeah,
ahead.
Yeah, fun. We've talked a lot about EMF too. You make the
Hmm.
atmosphere conductive. I
Right.
mean, think about if you want to make somebody sick, you want to take somebody out from a satellite, you want to take somebody out from a distance using EMF. Well, if you have a non-conductive atmosphere, it's harder to do. But if you have a conductive atmosphere, you can do it. A
Hmm.
lot of people don't realize EMF is light. We talked about this on the last show, I know, so I
Hmm.
won't get into
But
it.
it's
But
good. Well, it's good to
yeah,
reiterate it. Yeah.
yeah. Long story short, EMF is light. People don't realize that. EMF is light. Your eyes are light detectors. We all know that. But what you don't know is that your wireless router in your house, is emitting light. But light in certain frequency ranges is harmful, does DNA damage and other types of damage, of course. But when you combine that with an ionized atmosphere, the atmosphere is more conductive. And when it's more conductive, you can have a much higher delivery rate of those EMFs.
Hmm.
So, yeah, long story short, yeah, it definitely makes directed energy weapons much more effective.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely. And living by the ocean, like you live by the ocean, that's one thing I really, really like. Do you think that helps to neutralize some of this stuff or no?
I don't notice it. I know that when I lived in Florida, or not when I lived in Florida, but when I visited Florida, which I have a number of times in the last 20 years, what they would do, my mother actually lived about a mile from the Gulf Coast. And I remember looking out, they would spray just offshore. It would look like a war zone every day because we had onshore breeze. The wind is primarily from the west. That's what we get
Hmm.
because of the rotation of the earth. So we have the wind is primarily from the west, and they would spray just west of us, and it would carry all this stuff onshore. But it was funny just to watch them. It's like over our heads, it was relatively clear. Not every day. Sometimes they'd hit them pretty hard over their heads, but every day you'd look out over the Gulf, and they were just spraying like crazy just offshore. So the ocean, I mean, there probably is some advantage in a sense because you have salt in the air. You have salt particles which are very reactive to some of these metals.
Hmm.
So possibly, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen any science on this, so I can't say it dogmatically. But you could hypothesize that the salt could kind of chelate some of the stuff out of the air. So it might be advantageous, but the problem is when you're dealing with nanoparticles, they're almost like air molecules because they're so small that you're just not going to get everything. So it still can be very, very effective on their behalf for them to spray over the ocean and have it come on shore without too much degradation. So I think,
Hmm.
they did that in California when they created the droughts in California. We'd watch them every day spray like crazy. They'd hypernucleate, and then that moisture that was supposed to drop on California and
Hmm.
and make the agricultural state a very important agricultural state for the rest of our country very, very productive. Instead, that moisture would go to the Midwest and dump on the Midwest, and then create horrible destructive flooding in the Midwest. So
Hmm.
when people don't realize this affects everyone, not only is it poisoning everyone, no, not only is everyone's the average lifespan in the United States and Japan have finally been officially lowered, although I believe they should have been lowered 20 years ago, but that's another story. But
Hmm.
nevertheless, yeah, they have been officially lowered, so it's affecting people's health. But sometimes people don't think about how weather creates incredible destruction, and then the news is written in such a way to write it off to Mother Nature. And it's like this is not Mother Nature.
Hmm.
This is absolutely intentional, and they know absolutely what they're doing, and your taxes are paying for it.
Hmm.
Hmm. Very true. Well, that's what we have in this state too. I mean, it's becoming very arid, very dry. Moisture's gone, snow unheard of. I mean, really, very concerning in a sense. I mean, we've had a lot happening here with the weather modification, and then of course, you look at the so-called polar vortex. So yeah, but there's also weaponization of the biodome. So, you know, it is what it is. And now everything's being pushed to the East Coast, and they're blaming it on just natural Mother Earth kind of stuff.
Yeah, and all the unspoken consequences of this are just never ending, such as you change the biological makeup of soils.
Hmm.
When you break down soils, when you kill insects, I know Francis Mengels, which I interviewed a few times on Global Skywatch Radio. He's literally a genius. He's Mensa. He worked for the government for 35 years. He's a 35-year veteran biologist. Uh, I interviewed him, and he talked about how they were searching. They were actually calculating. They were doing studies on fish in the streams in California and finding that the insect in the food supply for the fish population was down to like 10% or something. This was this was like over 10 years ago. And it's because the population of the insect population has absolutely dwindled, and that affects the entire food supplies. That affects the fish, that affects the larger fish-eating animals, that affects other things in the food chain. It also affects, a lot of people don't think about it, is that biology in the soil is critical. In fact, when you want to have an absolutely fantastic garden, and I did this when I started gardening, my business partner and I researched real hard. We learned about all this stuff. So the very first year, and we had an explosive garden, it was just amazing. What you do is you have to make sure the biological environment in the soil has all the bacteria that you need. So we actually cultivated the bacteria in 5-gallon buckets, and then we would mix it in with the water that we would water. And then we would also use something called rock dust, which is very finely ground rock. You can buy this in like 50-pound bags. And then you would spread that. So this biology in the soil actually breaks down the minerals so the plants can use it, just like in your digestive system. Same thing. The same thing happens in soil. When you are poisoning the biosphere, it wouldn't be called the biosphere, but the biological component in soils, and you're killing the bacteria, you destroy agriculture in a way that nobody thought of. Why are your yields lower? Why do you have not so many minerals in your plants? Why are people not so healthy? Why does the food not taste so rich anymore? Why is it bland? I've had food from the grocery store that has no taste to it anymore. Whereas
Oh yeah.
the food from my garden was literally the best vegetables I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely incredible. I was eating tomatoes like apples. I would eat them and then like, this is incredible. I've never had a tomato that tastes like this.
Oh,
So
nice.
that, yeah, a big part of it, a huge part of it is you have to have very active mineral uptake and aluminum in the soil. If it's free aluminum, not bauxite, which is bound, but if you have free aluminum that's coming down in the rain, in the soil, that's taken up by the plants, and it blocks mineral uptake of other minerals. Also, if you kill the biology of the soil, then you don't have available minerals broken down for the plants. So your plants begin to become mineral starved, and therefore people up the food chain, that would be us, also become mineral starved. And the plant growth gets stunted, the taste isn't there anymore, and the things don't grow like they're supposed to. So that's just one of many of the hidden side effects that people don't think about, and we actually don't talk about too much.
Not at all. That's very good information right there.
It's really
Yeah, but-
interesting that you very specifically said you used to eat tomatoes like apples, because my dad was saying that the other day. He was like, I just don't really enjoy food as much, and I was like, yeah, well, I wish you and mom would eat some damn vegetables. And he's like, well, I used to eat stuff all the time. He's like, when I was a kid, we used to grow a lot of our own stuff. He's like, I used to love tomatoes, and now I just don't. They feel so bland, and they give me really bad heartburn. And my dad was like, I used to eat them like apples. I would just take these big bites, these big chunks out of them. And I was like, ugh, who's taking big bites out of tomatoes? Ugh. But you're not the first person. I mean, obviously my dad said it the other day, but like, you guys are not the first people to say that to me in the last like month or so. I've heard a lot of people say they used to eat like heirloom tomatoes as if they were like apples. And I'm weird. I used to eat peppers like apples. Like I would just take big bites out of peppers for a while when I first realized I liked peppers. And like bell peppers, not like serrano peppers or anything. I'm not crazy. But I have noticed that food, that's what it is. Food is just bland. Produce is bland. We have these fancy, like hydroponic or something grown strawberries at HEB that my boyfriend really likes to get. His daughter really likes them. And they're much more expensive than regular strawberries, but they actually have like a flavor to them. Like they're naturally sweet, and they don't taste like just weird. They don't taste like textured water like most strawberries do. They're very red inside and out. And normal strawberries are not really red. They're like white on the inside. There's no like coloration inside of them. And like Solaris and I talk a lot about how food is just unfulfilling and just blah lately. Like I don't enjoy eating. And a lot of people are saying that. Like a lot of people are like, I'm not enjoying eating at all. It is not a good time. I'm not having fun.
Well, it's contaminated. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's another reason to that too. Yeah, no, I'm so glad you brought that up. And I know it sounds weird to eat an apple, I mean, to eat a tomato like a apple, because I never would do that. You know, I would think that's weird. But when we had our garden tomatoes, and these weren't like weird heirloom tomatoes, they were just common.
Hmm.
I can't remember like I can't remember what it was, but they were. When I first had them, and I just started. I can't even describe. It's hard to tell people unless you experience it. And we had other tomatoes, like little cherry tomatoes, the best
Yes.
tomatoes I've ever had in my life. They were like candy. They li they were like literally. My business partner and I were we weren't fighting or anything, but like we were keeping track of how many each one of us get. 'Cause it's like we were like, how many did you get? Well, I want some more. It was absolutely amazing. And you talked about strawberries. We
Hmm.
grew strawberries. They were the best strawberries I've had in my life. The flavor was incredible. We had sugar snap peas, which were the best I've ever had in my life. We had snow pea pods, which were the best in life. We actually grew green beans. This is the year one. We knew nothing about gardening except for the research we had done, and we did everything right according to all the research that we had done, especially making the biome in the soil good and rich with the rock dust and with the bacteria. That was key. I never had known that until we did this research. We had green beans that were like a foot to 14
Oh
inches
wow.
long. Yeah, we had so many green
Wow.
beans that we couldn't give them. We had 5-gallon buckets of green beans, and this was a garden. I'm not kidding you. The entire garden, including we had garlic, we had cabbage, we had all the sugar snap peas on it, the green beans, we had all this. It was 20 feet by 26 feet. I
I
remember the
love that.
dimensions. Yeah, and the zucchini was we have pictures of it on my Facebook group, which you can't see anymore. But I had pictures of the garden. We took all these pictures because we're like incredible. These zucchini were growing so fast they would end up being like about a foot and a half. They were like, 2 footballs, and I mean just these
I
enormous
love that.
zucchinis. I was like, this is we couldn't eat all the food from this 20 by 26 garden. There's no way we ended up preserving a lot of it. Carrots, best carrots I've ever had in my life. I mean, I get excited. You can hear the excitement in my voice
Yeah, I was gonna
because
say this is
I,
making me really want to do the
yeah,
gardening like immediately. Like I told my boyfriend we need to go get some of those pallets from like whatever Home Depot, Walmart, and take them apart and just build some like above ground planters that we could move. Because I want to grow stuff. I'm so sick and tired of going to the grocery store. I remember having a garden as a kid. My mom's last marriage was the longest, and we had this really beautiful house in northern Colorado, and we had this huge yard. And dude was a terrible cook, but boy, his gardening was phenomenal because all of the veggies, all the herbs and stuff that we grew, the strawberries that oh my god. He had to chase us away with the hose all the time because we were out there eating those strawberries before they were like really ready. And we are just like, they're so good. He was like, eat like 2 or 3, not like all of them. And we would grow our own chives, and we had lettuce, and we had like little carrots for a little bit on accident one time. I don't remember how that happened, but I remember going out there and weeding it, and he was just like, what is this? And I was like, it looks like a carrot. And he's like, I didn't grow any carrots. But they were like these sweet little carrots. And then we also had potatoes one time, and those came out really well. And I see a lot of people growing like mushrooms and potatoes and garlic and stuff, and I've been wanting to do that for a long time. I had a garden in Colorado in 2020, and I was so proud of it. I didn't really produce anything really edible, but I was growing like chamomile, and I grew my own basil and thyme, and it went better in my cooking. It just something about it was just it was more aromatic. It had more flavor. It had like more bite to it, and I love hearing these stories, especially, with how excited you are. It's really, my mom got me a greenhouse for Christmas, and I really want to put it together tomorrow and start planting things because I want to encourage people to have more food grown in their own backyards, because if you're growing football-sized zucchinis, like oh my God, can I go back in time and eat your vegetables because it's making me hungry? Like
yeah,
I want them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I normally wouldn't get excited about vegetables until 2010 when we had that first garden, and I had vegetables that I'd never. I finally my eyes were open. I'm like, this is what food is supposed to be like. And if it's like this, I enjoy coming out here and eating stuff right off the plants because it is like a candy store. It's incredible. The flavors are just just unbelievable. The other aspect I was going to say real quick is one thing we're getting sprayed with is mercury. The other thing that makes food bland, it's not just what we're talking about, although I believe that plays a very big part. We know it does. I mean, we have reports, we have people on our website that videos that where farmers and real agriculturalists are actually talking about this. The other aspect is when your zinc levels are depleted in your body, then your sense of taste also becomes bland. And it's another thing we could also talk about. I don't know if you wanted to talk about this too, Zoe, later, but you had talked about smelling eucalyptus at one point. I know we're close to a break here, but that's to me, that was very powerful. And you both mentioned also you were smelling rubber. Before I forget, like burnt rubber in the air. That is what I've documented this for over about because I smell that all the time. It's very strong for me because my senses of taste and smell are kind of way out there. But this is about 2014, I believe, when they started spraying that type, and I call it the burnt. No, actually, it was before that. No, it was before that. It was earlier. So this type is well over 10 years old, and I call it the burnt plastic model cement glue type because it to me it smells like burnt plastic, but most other people, when we've had hard events and non-sensitive people could smell it, they most of them said it smelled to them like burnt rubber. So
I've also smelled
yeah.
burnt plastic, like plastic water bottles specifically. This is a very specific weird thing, but Solaris would know. King Soopers water bottles, the purified drinking water, has a certain smell if it burns, and it's specifically. I mean, like, I guess you could argue like Walmart too. Walmart has like a water bottle that we used to go camping a lot when I was a kid, and we would throw the water bottles like in the fire, and it would just smell terrible. And that's what I smell sometimes, very randomly, like outside, and everybody thinks I'm crazy. But the plastic water bottles, plastic rubber, stinky, burning.
We're heading for a quick break on that note. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back with my wonderful guest, Russ Tanner, and my co-host, Zoe Greystone. Stay tuned.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
Ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
and I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Do you want to really get to the roots of good health and stay strong for the storms ahead? Then listen to Bridget's Well, Healing with the Elements of Life. Tuesdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio A, where stories are shared about traditional foods, Chinese medicine, and simple, healthy living skills. Listen to Bridget's Well, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Studio A, right here on Revolution Radio.
Mountain High Time, 2 hours of an organization to the madness, discussing the ever-changing dynamics of being both physically and mentally prepared for a plethora of possible outcomes to our future and present. A look into the latest technologies, new scientific discoveries, and how they might be used in connection to the human domain and controlling it, ancient cultures and places. Be warned. This is an opinionated look through headlines, guests that are not afraid to question the narrative, a little bit of crazy ramblings of a stoner conspiracy factist that pushes constitutional concepts. place and the time are the same, another dimension we call Mountain High Time. Saturdays 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Mountain High Time, right here on Revolution.radio, where information never sleeps and truth breaks the spell.
Join Revolution Radio every Sunday at 5 p.m. Studio B for Strange Universe. For Strange Universe.
I want to thank everybody for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the one place where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
All right, let's show them what we got.
All right, thanks for listening while we take that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Welcome back, everybody, to Ravenstar'S Witching Hour here on Revolution Radio. You're listening to Studio A. I am your host, Solaris Blue-Raven. I am joined by the lovely Zoe Greystone as my co-host tonight. And, of course, I have Russ Tanner here, our regular. It's a pleasure to have you here, Russ. Of course, and that last hour just went so fast, my goodness. But you were discussing some interesting topics here, and I wanted you to kind of expand on the eucalyptus. I know that was probably when you and Zoe talked on her show, but I didn't hear that. So I kind of wanted to hear more about that.
Yeah, I'd love to have Zoe talk about it. Zoe, did you want to share anything about that? And then I can kind of follow up with if it's something you're comfortable talking about or how you feel about it, or.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember exactly what the specific trigger for it was, but there are some times where it's funny. I was thinking about it in the shower a couple days ago, actually. I sometimes smell eucalyptus before I get like a really bad headache, and like before I get really bad migraines, and sometimes before the weather shifts dramatically. And people laugh at me because I have this very specific categorization of smells in my inventory or whatever. And something about the smell of eucalyptus is it's a very specific moment, and it triggers these weird I don't know, it like sets off red flags in my body that just says like, hey, something's wrong. And the eucalyptus, it just becomes like an overwhelming, very overpowering smell. And I don't remember exactly when we last talked about it where I had mentioned that I noticed it first, but because I think my brother was part of that conversation, and so I vaguely remember him saying something about like he didn't know what the smell was until I mentioned it, and then he was like, is that what that is? But yeah, it's like eucalyptus and patchouli tend to set off these weird triggers in my like headaches, and I smell them very randomly, like in the house sometimes, especially when there's like hot water, like if I'm taking a shower, or sometimes when I'm like cooking and stuff, but also like right before it starts to rain. I don't always get that petrichor smell. I get like that eucalyptus smell, and going on to like with the burnt rubber smell, like it's these weird smells that just sort of like appear out of nowhere, and they become like very, I don't know, they sort of like harass your senses, and it's incredibly overwhelming. And sometimes like I can't be around like those essential oils and stuff because they just put me in such a bad physical space. Like it overwhelms my senses. It makes me like unable to communicate. I feel very confused sometimes when I have those moments where like that it's like an ear piercing sound but through my nose. Like it's it's very aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, some of the things that they're spraying make us feel that way, you know, and being that I can smell and taste them, I've written articles that associate what symptoms go with what particular flavors that we're tasting in the air at any given, or I'm tasting in the air at any given time. You had mentioned when we talked before that you had heart issues that were associated with the eucalyptus one.
Oh
Does that ring
yeah.
a bell?
Yeah. So, I was wondering if that was what it was that I was talking about. Cause yeah, so when I smell eucalyptus, but I know there isn't anything nearby, I tend to have these issues with my heart where I start getting like these incredible pains. I can't breathe, and the smell of eucalyptus just becomes like overwhelming, and sometimes it causes these like, I don't want to say seizures because I don't feel like seizure is the correct terminology still, but yeah, it hurts in my heart when I smell it, and when I start having these like palpitations, it's like I can only taste and smell eucalyptus all of a sudden, and I don't know, it's oof, just thinking about it gives me anxiety. It's just
Exactly.
it triggers this weird it feels like I'm consuming, like somebody has dripped essential oil basically like down my, down my soft palate into my sinuses, but I can almost feel the taste of it in my chest cavity. Like, I know some people use eucalyptus a lot like Vicks, where like it's supposed to like release something. I don't know, it's supposed to be some sort of like a relaxing, sort of it's kind of a stimulant, but it's supposed to relax you at the same time. All it does is stress my heart out, and I will taste eucalyptus. And I remember saying that I tasted eucalyptus when I had one of those, the very first time I had a heart problem, when I was in the emergency room, and they looked at me like I was crazy. It's the same thing with patchouli. Sometimes it tastes like I just taste it before I have like a heart palpitation, or I get these like physical shakes, like convulsions. I don't remember, was it Solaris?
Yeah.
Were we talking
It's
about
what,
that last night?
yeah.
Was I saying
I think
I can't remember.
I think a little bit. We didn't get into
Yeah.
too many details. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what we got into, is that when you had your heart issue, that you had mentioned to somebody around you, you said, every time I have heart problems, I smell eucalyptus in the air. And then I told you through Discord shortly after, I said, if you go, and I pulled it up right now on my screen, I mentioned in last hour that I've documented all the types that I can smell and taste, and what the symptoms are and what the patterns are. Everything I know about them, I just try to put on the Global Skywatch website. And here is the last sentence that I have, and I shared this with you I clipped it and shared it with you in Discord. Did you find it? Yeah.
I found
It's,
it.
this is when you said that to me, and you said I have heart palpitations afterward, and you were in the hospital and you were having this, and you told your friends around you that you smell eucalyptus in the air. I said, wow, that is the most dangerous type, chemtrail type, that causes rapid magnesium loss, and it causes heart palpitations, and then if it gets bad enough, it can lead to tremors, where you start shaking, and you start getting tremors, and then you have other magnesium problems. And this is the last sentence of the article that I wrote specifically about this chemtrail type, which I call the aromatic type. That's the name. I give all of them names so I can identify them when I write about them, and I talk to my business partner about them. Here's the last sentence. It says, this plume has an aromatic, quote unquote, odor, which is somewhat like apricot pits, almonds, or even eucalyptus. It is not exactly like any of these, but it may be considered as being in the same family of odors.
Wow.
And so when you brought that up I got goosebumps right now, because I love when somebody validates a thing, because it's so rare to be able to talk to somebody. It's not so rare. I mean, I've met 100 plus people online over a period of years, but to hear you actually say that when we talked several weeks back and did the interview, I was just like, yes, that's exactly it. It's like a eucalyptus-y I call it aromatic because it's not exactly eucalyptus, but it's kind of like a aromatic. It's a real aromatic kind of odor, but it very rapidly induces magnesium loss, heart palpitations that have led to my heart attacks. And I told you that I have had 8 heart attacks now since 2011. I'm not making it up. I know it's hard for people. Thankfully, I know how to stop them, because I recognize quickly that they were rapid loss of minerals, especially magnesium and also potassium. And that's because these metals or whatever this substance is, because I really don't know what this or aromatic type is, but it rapidly depletes magnesium in the body. And my first heart attack, it was a different type called the barium type, which rapidly depletes potassium. So I was in the hospital. They did all kinds of tests, and at the end of it all, the nurse came to me and gave me these big old horse pills, and I don't take anything unless I know what it is and I know what it's going to do. So I said, oh, well, can you please tell me what they are? And she's like, this is potassium because I'm sorry. Yeah, she said, this is potassium because your potassium levels are low. She looked at me over a glass. She bent her head down and looked at me over a glass and said, low, like dangerously low. And so it's like, well, why would that happen? Well, I know what it happens because the very same feeling that causes that pre-heart attack sensation that I get was always caused in the early days by the barium type, which lowered potassium. But since about 2013 or whenever they started in our area using the aromatic type sometime later on, then it was the aromatic type that actually caused those things. And it can, the heart palpitations. And it also can cause the tremors. I've had times where they hit us and I actually am having tremors where I'm shaking and I can't pick things up. And it's because of this type. So, so I wrote another article on the Global Scottish website to tell people that one thing you might consider doing, I'm not a doctor, everything I say, consider it entertainment because I can't tell you anything about health, but whatever, you can think of it how you want, but talk to your doctor or your provider, whatever you want. But the bottom line is, if you're having a heart attack, you know somebody who is, you might consider the possibility of taking large doses of magnesium during the heart attack. This is why I've had 8 of these things, and thankfully, I'm very grateful and very thankful that I learned about this. And guess what? The reason I found out about this was because I listen every day. I learn something. I listen to doctors. I listen to about studies. I listen about what's going on. And during this time, I was listening to Dr. Brian Ardis, who has talked about the COVID vaccines. And he made a very interesting discovery. Not just him, but people all over the world who had actually taken vials of different COVID vaccines, and they did actually genetic testing, very detailed testing on the vaccines, to find out what is in the vaccines, and they actually found the bungarotoxin. This is one thing that wasn't in every vial, but it was in some of the vials, and of course we know that some people had no reactions, some people died. Very, very sad, very, very hard situation to cope with, but they found bungarotoxin, which is a venom from the crate snake. And the you know what the chief function of the bungarotoxin is? It paralyzes you. You know how it paralyzes you? It paralyzes you by rapidly depleting magnesium. Because what does magnesium do in the body? It relaxes your muscles. If you take away magnesium, your muscles flex, but they cannot release. That's how you have heart problems. It can't release. There's not enough available magnesium. And I had learned several years before that for some reason that I did not understand, when we got hit with the aromatic type, and maybe this will save lives out there, when we got hit with this type, which most people cannot smell, I would have heart palpitations and it could get quite serious. But I learned that the rapid solution for this was pretty high dose magnesium. Well, I wouldn't say high dose, but I would immediately take 100 or 200 milligrams of magnesium. And I'll get into the types in a minute if people want to know. But I would take magnesium, not citrate, but orotate, lysinate, glycinate are 2 of my favorites. Taurate is also great for the heart. So taurate and orotate are my 2 favorites. Anyway, I would rapidly dose a few hundred milligrams of magnesium, and the heart palpitations and the tremors would go away. And so I started wondering that I started looking up the symptom set for the bungarotoxin. And if you look at the symptom set for the aromatic type of chemtrail, that particular type, the symptom set is identical to the bungarotoxin of the crate snake. So I was watching the video when he was talking about how the bungarotoxin actually causes the cells in your body to rapidly uptake magnesium out of the bloodstream so that you have less available magnesium. And that was when I got hit over the head. I said, that's got to be it. That's got to be it, because I've recognized several years before that it was a rapid depletion of magnesium that was being induced by this type. So I would love to see a group of people get together. It's very sophisticated testing, but when they spray this type, of course, you'd have to have somebody around there who can smell it, collect rainwater, do some kind of atmospheric testing to see if there is bungarotoxin that is being aerosolized. I don't know, but the symptom set is the same. So there you go.
I think that's very good information. Thank you for sharing that. It comes down to the magnesium. And how are you feeling now since you had that last heart attack?
I'm doing okay. It's funny because I know, like everybody, a lot of people will ask me that, how you feeling now? How you feeling? And the honest answer is that all depends on the air. I can be doing fine right now if the air gets mild, and 10 minutes from now, if we get hit with a plume and something, I could feel, and my business partner is the same. We could feel 10 to 20 minutes from now, we could feel absolutely unable to function if the air gets bad. So it's 100% up to how bad and how intense the air is at any given time. And this has been exactly the story for the last 20 years. So thankfully, I am pumping, unfortunately, I have to pump large amounts of magnesium in order to keep these symptoms away, because the aromatic type, and this is what the aromatic type has now become, a type that they hit us with daily, but it's at a lower intensity. And what the aromatic type also does is it also makes you feel cold and chilly, and it can make your hands and feet particularly cold. But it'll just make you feel like you're chilly. It cools your whole body off dramatically. And I believe what it does is because it blocks magnesium metabolism. Magnesium is absolutely critical for the production of adenosine triphosphate in your body, ATP, which is your energy molecule. And what happens if you don't have ATP? You get cold. And what happens if you've ever watched spy movies, and we talked about this before too, these spy movies, the spies have a cyanide tablet in their teeth or in their pocket or on their person all the time, so that if they get caught by the enemy, they'll pop a cyanide tablet and kill themselves so they aren't tortured into divulging information to the enemy. Well, what does cyanide do? It rapidly shuts down your ATP production. So just putting it all out there I would love to get a group of people who really want to find out what's going on, because I believe the things that they're spraying us with, some of them are just barium, aluminum, strontium, and your typical old horrible poisons, lead, arsenic, which should not be in the air. But there's some other more exotic things that are kind of out of left field that really need to be discovered.
I think so. And I know Zoe was discussing like migraines the other day. We were talking about that, but the idea behind. So, what are the solutions in your opinion? What would you recommend for a migraine? Or even, didn't you say you felt like really shaky the other day?
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that because I was having this problem last night too,
Tremor.
and
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was just because we watched Alien Romulus, and I got really worked up and stressed out, and I sweating so
love that
bad. The
movie.
movie made me so nervous. I was so anxious because the characters they were so dumb and they made me so angry. But I had a good time. But I was a couple days ago. My mom mentioned it, and then I noticed it again last night. And my boyfriend doesn't notice it as much, but I think he just doesn't know those things yet about me because he's never home when it happens, or we don't talk about it very much. He doesn't listen to the radio shows very often. He's usually upstairs. But yeah, the last few days I've been getting really shaky, and I actually, listening to Russ say that just now made me really really uncomfortable for a minute, because the last few nights I've been getting really cold and shaky and feeling like I'm about to have a seizure. Like I think I was talking to you. I don't know if it was on air or in a private conversation, but sometimes, yeah, when I get the migraines, or even post migraine, I get really shaky sometimes, but not all the time. And then the last time I had the migraine last weekend, yeah, I was shaky. I had the worst brain fog. I could not function. What was it, like 3 days we were trying to have a conversation, and I could not function. I couldn't get anything done. I tried to crochet, and that stressed me out. I tried to draw, that stressed me out. I tried to rest. I couldn't rest. I've been having weird dreams. I've been waking up with these migraines and these, just this shakiness. I've been feeling incredibly cold. I'm actually really hot right now, even though I'm wearing a sweater. I am sweating right now, but the last few days I have been, unreasonably cold. And it's a tension in my body that I don't know how to explain to people sometimes, because I don't I don't feel like, ooh, burr, I'm chilly. It's like, no, I start shaking, and then I feel my body temperature drop, and then I start like
Exactly.
having
That's
these
it. Exactly.
convulsions, and sometimes I go into a full-blown seizure where like I can't move, I can't think, I've got that 1,000-yard stare, I'm told. I can't function. People get nervous thinking I died or something, and I just become nonverbal, and I just, end up drooling on myself on the floor, just violently convulsing. And it's genuinely upsetting and embarrassing sometimes, because it's just like, people are like, what the hell just happened? And I'm like, happens sometimes. Like, my bad, forgot to give you
Yeah.
a warning. But
No.
yeah, it's just the
Yeah.
last couple days have been really rough with that, actually. Like, I don't think about it sometimes because it doesn't happen often. It's very
Yeah.
rare when it happens. And I have been taking magnesium supplements. I was just telling Solaris the other night, I started taking some prenatals recently because the supplements I was taking just didn't feel like they were helping. I actually don't know if these are helping because I seem to be gaining weight, but I'm hoping that it's water weight. Yeah, it's just the supplements don't seem to be helping. However, we did get a water filter. Well, I didn't get it recently. I've had it for a while, but recently I purchased filters that replace magnesium in the water. And so we've had a lot of, I think it's magnesium glycinate, replaced in the water itself as it's filtering. So all of us are having better digestion when we consume. I know my boyfriend and I definitely are having better digestion. We're sleeping a little bit better. I don't have as intense of like physical cramps during certain times. Things are slightly more relieved, but I do have these like weird pseudo seizures that just hit out of nowhere sometimes. And I've had people be like, oh, it's not a real seizure because you can talk through it. And I'm like, I know it's not, I'm not epileptic, but I am seizing. Like, I have no control over my body. My brain is fried. And half the time it comes from a migraine. It comes from like a physical stress. I feel like I'm under like an extremely low frequency attack. And it's very sporadic.
Yeah, the symptom set, a couple things I would share with you. The symptom set you're talking about so far is precisely what I'm talking about. And it's interesting how you say you'll start having the tremors and then you'll get cold. Mm-hmm. Those are the two most common things that are associated with this. And one thing that's interesting is that most people don't have these symptoms. They might feel a little cold or chilly, but they don't have the tremors and they don't have the heart issues. Now, here's the complete list from the article about this, how these symptoms go together, so we can kind of tie some of this together, because what you're saying is exactly what happens to me too. I mean, I don't go into a full seizure, but there have been times when they hit us hard enough where I will start shaking where I can't pick things up. Mm-hmm. And I've had to get my business partner and say, I need your help. I'm shaking, and then I start having heart arrhythmia, and it freaks you out because the heart arrhythmia then can lead to a heart attack. So I'm like, okay. But the thing I found, thankfully, early on is just huge, large dose magnesium is what got rid of it. And that's what got me on this path to try to research this. So here's the list of symptoms. And then the other thing I will say to you before I tell you about the symptoms, the list of symptoms, is that when they spray these types, I said a little earlier that this new type here where I live, I can't speak to other areas, but I think they're doing this all over based on feedback I'm getting. Of course, I don't get as much now because of being off Facebook, because that was a great source of information and feedback from other people. But I believe they're doing this aromatic type everywhere like they are here. They're doing it every day now. So every day I'm feeling cold. Every day I have to take extra magnesium. Every day I'm having these symptoms, but it's at a low intensity. But what they'll do is maybe 3 to 4 weeks, they will increase the intensity for maybe 2 or 3 days in a row, where they'll just increase the intensity of the aromatic type, and then you have a lot of problems. Then these things become issues. I wear a wet mask. I have to take extra magnesium and take other precautions, and then it'll go back to its, I guess you call normal for these days, its normal level. So I think what they do that is a psychological thing to say, okay, so some of these people who are sensitive to this, because like I said, most people don't react like this to this type. Laura doesn't react to this type, except getting chilly. She doesn't have any of the tremors and no heart problems. But for me, it's a completely different story. So it just seems to me that they do this as a psychological operation so that people might go to the hospital, because this is when I see the ambulances go by when this type is strong in the air. I'm in rural Maine. That's when we have ambulances going by, and without this type, we typically don't see an ambulance for every, maybe when I first moved here, we'd see about 2 a year. Now they're like once a month, and then sometimes we have 2 or 3 a week if they're spraying particularly bad on that week. So they kind of, those patterns are there as far as the spraying, and I believe they do it that way so that people don't catch on. The list of symptoms is this: tremors without feeling cold. I'm reading right from the article. Tremors without feeling cold. Of course, eventually you do start feeling cold. Heart arrhythmia, frequent urination, or sudden need to urinate, like it'll come on quickly. So, and that's also a mercury symptom, by the way. So some of these overlap with mercury, but some of them don't. So heart arrhythmia, frequent urination. And so now, because they're spraying this like this, I literally get up 3 times a night to have to go, 3 to 4 times a night to have to go to the bathroom. Whereas when there was no chemtrails, I never did. And when I had mercury symptoms, mercury poisoning really bad in 2000, I had the same symptom. But again, so some of these overlap with mercury, but not all of them. Cold hands and feet is another one. Feeling chilly or colder than usual. Then the less common ones, but they do affect some people, are stomach pain, bloating, and diarrhea. So, some people out there listening may relate to some of these, but this is all these are symptoms that come from one type. And I have in this paper documented probably about 20, I don't even know what the number's up to now, but 20 some different types that they spray. But they right now, typically they only would spray 5 or 6 at a time, and they migrate through different types as time goes on. So I've tried to document that as much as I can, because I've seen the migration to different types, and the new types they introduce are always more symptom causing than the previous types. So the real dangerous thing, though, is the tremors and the heart arrhythmia that can lead to heart attacks. So I just wanted to mention that, because this is the three. I look for symptom sets when I'm trying to reverse engineer what a chemtrail type could contain, because we don't know what this actually contains. And the most best matches for the symptom set is, number 1, the bungarotoxin, which is the snake venom from the crate snake. Number 2, the second most overlapping symptom set is cyanide, and then the third best match is mercury. So for what it's worth, that's the aromatic type, and I think this is the single most dangerous type. And you mentioned something else about, I forgot. Oh, the migraines. There is a type that causes rapid set migraine, really painful headache right behind the eyes, or in the eyes is where it seems to begin. Yep. And yep, I call this, and this is all on the same page where I document all the types. This I call the coagulant type, and I just assign names to these so I can identify them. And this one actually says, here, I'll read the health effects. The first sentence here says, this new type introduces intense headaches, particularly behind and around the eyes. Plus, it may cause pain anywhere existing injuries exist. Depending on the intensity of the plume, the headache may spread. The location and concentration of this type of pain can lead to nausea and vertigo. And it goes on many paragraphs. But that's this one 100% of the time will cause me to have a headache behind the eyes that's intense, and can be so intense it makes me nauseous and even unable to function. In Laura, who's a much more normal person physiologically, she will just have pain. She has a back injury from a car accident years ago. That will really start to aggravate her when this type is present. So for what it's worth. Yeah.
That's very interesting. That's good information.
Yeah, I called it the coagulant type because the symptom set seems to indicate that it's binding in capillaries in certain parts of the body that are capillary heavy. And of course, eyes are very capillary heavy. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned, a few minutes ago, I mentioned about how the COVID vaccine, or the bioweapon, it's not really a vaccine, actually causes obstructions, because it can cause amyloid plaque to to coagulate in your blood and actually can cause thrombosis or blood clots. And one of the symptoms of the COVID vaccine that's very common, in fact, I know someone personally this happened to who got it. Unfortunately, very sadly, she was forced to get it for work, and she started having real severe vision problems and ended up having to quit her job. So vision problems are very common with that. And so the reason I call this the coagulant type is because because the way it causes this type of pain behind the eyes and this very intense localized pain, it really acts like it's binding to some kind of receptors in that area, particularly, or in Laura's injury area, or in capillaries and other places, but especially in the eyes that cause blood coagulation. And so that they call it microclotting. And when you have microclotting, then the cells are not getting adequate oxygen and nutrition, and then it starts causing very intense pain in those areas. So that's why I named it the coagulant type. I don't know if it causes coagulation, but it certainly does cause symptoms that are indicative of possible coagulation.
Mm-hmm. And what would be the solution insofar as would you take aspirin, or what would you do to rectify the symptom?
Yeah, what I do for both the aromatic type and the coagulant is I take high dose vitamin C.
Okay.
For the heart, I take dandelion. Now, dandelion helps with the bioweapon. And because I think the aromatic type may be related to the bioweapon because it may be a snake venom peptide. I don't think they're milking snakes for this, but what they're doing is they're growing. In fact, the technology is already published. I mean, they already are doing this. We know they're doing it. It was the first published paper that mentioned this was, I believe, 2006. So this goes way back. High dose vitamin C, dandelion root. It has to be the root, and it actually contains a substance that blocks the angiotensin receptors, and so it actually can block the activity of the venom peptides. Then I do enzymes. You can do nattokinase, so anything to break up clots rapidly. So nattokinase, bromelain, and something to increase your glutathione as rapidly as possible. So I take N-acetylcysteine, and I always take my N-acetylcysteine with methylcobalamin, which is methylated B12. So that's for those. You can run the tape back if you want, but those are the combination of things that I use that actually help reduce these symptoms of these two very dangerous types.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent information. That's why I always love, even if we cover things, sometimes we'll cover them like over and over, which I like because, want to remember this stuff or write it down, make a notebook. But yeah, it's nice to have an archive as well.
Yeah, and to think that your government is spraying venom peptides on you, it's unspeakable. I mean, the things that your government is doing right now is unspeakable.
Yeah,
this is beyond illegal. This is beyond any crime, I believe. The damage, the death, the mortality, the morbidity, and the damage to all life and soils, agriculture that has been done is not touched by any other crime that's ever committed historically. And I believe it's just going to be a matter of a decade or so that the world is going to everybody will know that what I just said is true. I believe that's my personal belief. Yeah.
And you've come a long way. I think we've all come a long way insofar as just having the data out there for years, many, many years. But right now, you're looking at the future and it's like, we're getting older. So hopefully the newer generations will be able to do something to rectify the situation.
Yeah. Right?
I think we're in a real difficult spot because they have the whole world locked down. The governments are all run by the people who are all working in coordination with each other. Russia is, India is, China is. The governments are all in deep cooperation with each other while they make each other look like they're enemies. And I haven't believed since I got involved in politics. I learned back in the early 90s that the governments are all run by the same group of people. And so they're not, the financials. If you look at the finance, you can follow the money and you can follow the financial control system. And these countries are already controlled by the same people. And so you can't have countries that all have the same financial and decision-making structure that are at war with each other unless the war is for theater. Right. The war is theater. Yeah. So when the sooner people wake up and realize that, and I'm not saying this is not the only piece of information I base that that conclusion on. There's lots and lots and lots that goes behind this. But after being in this for so long, most of the public just has not yet comprehended how big and how deep this goes.
Not at all.
I think a
But
lot
they'll
of
feel
people
it.
are certainly waking up to it, though. I think people are starting to really be like, you know what? These people might be onto something. Like, it frustrates me, but I think the sheep are finally realizing that they can stand up and they have horns. They can fight back.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think you're right. People are. This is why we're getting 1,500 people every 10 days in our group, our Global Scottish group, because people are getting tired of it. They are waking up. And this brings us to a very dangerous time in history, though, because as the power brokers realize the public is waking up, they're going to have to create chaos. They're going to have to create a disaster. And that's typically when the disasters happen. I did say on a talk show about a year and a half ago or 2 years, well, it was before Trump, whatever it was, right before Trump, right after Trump was elected, I said that I think that late, probably very late in Trump's term in office, we're going to officially be at war. I'm not saying it's World War III, but we're going to be involved in an official war, or maybe an unofficial war, because most of them are unofficial. But we will be involved in a war, and that's going to be the beginning of escalations that are going to happen. So the timing, maybe the timing will be off. I'm not sure, but that's my best guess. Is I think they're going to start unleashing war pretty soon. So I'm not surprised that we're getting late in his term. And what I said during those shows during that time is starting to come together. We're seeing some military movement right now that looks like we're going to be having some dealings with Iran, and so we'll see.
Yeah. Never a dull moment, huh?
Yeah, what a time to live. I'll tell you, they say, may you live in interesting times. And I'll tell you, there's no lack of that. And the thing is, what's so funny is because it's such a dichotomy, because if you're ignorant about the things, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but if you're not aware of these things that are going on right now, the world doesn't necessarily look any worse than it maybe did 10 years ago. I mean, it does, but I mean, not nearly as much as it is, you know. But if you are aware of this, your worldview is departing from the nightly news worldview further and further and further, because you're realizing how absolutely deep and dark and ubiquitous around the globe this system is, and how evil these people are, and the incredibly horrific crimes that they commit on a regular basis against children, against the human trafficking. All of this stuff is coming out. These people who smile at you. There's a new term that has been published in a book that's about. It's called a ocracy. What is it called? It's called when people are sociopathic, psychopathic. It's called a psychopathy. I think it's, or not psychopathy, but it's a government type. He's coined a new phrase, and I think it's going to catch on. But it's basically when the majority of the governments, or the people that run a government, are literally psychopaths. They literally have no conscience. They don't feel. They have no empathy. Then there's a cycle that takes place in governments. There's a cycle, and a book has just been written. I haven't read it yet. Very interested in it. I think it's and I believe this for a long time. I think the guy's right on target. So people are learning that these people in very high positions will say, I care about this. I'm touring this disaster zone. We're going to get money to the people. That person is turning his head around, and he's a psychopath, and he's doing dealings, and he's doing horrific, unspeakable things that you'll never hear about until this all gets uncovered. But yet he's smiling into the camera and acting like the most compassionate person you've ever known. So, yeah, they're actors. They're very good actors.
Yeah, players for sure.
And I'm not saying every last one of them, but yeah, it's pretty full. It's getting pretty full.
Yeah, I've seen 90% at least.
yeah, it's getting pretty full.
Yeah, high percentage on that one.
Yeah.
No doubt. But yeah, it's amazing. So much information. I hope they reinstate your account. If they do, does that mean that we all get put back on there, all the people that are been following you, or no?
From the other people who had their account reinstated, everything is still the same when they're back online.
Okay, so they probably have a ghost record of some kind already there.
Well, I think the way, I mean, I'm an IT guy, I develop systems, and so that just tells me they have a flag that says this account doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you go to my page right now, it says there's nothing here to see, but all they have to do is flip the switch, and then that switch says my account is enabled, and all of a sudden everything is back to where it was.
Right.
So that's very doable with today's system. So
Mm-hmm.
Is
I'm
Yeah.
sure it's about the money.
is the
But
Global Skywatch admin in the group? Is that you technically?
the Global Skywatch, yeah, it's called Chemtrails Global Skywatch on Facebook, the group that's growing very rapidly. I'm the admin, and I have a group of moderators. I've got about, I don't remember the 7 or 8 moderators that take care of moderation.
Yeah, I was asking because I see the Chemtrails Global Skywatch 2, and there's a profile that says Global Skywatch and it says admin, and it looks like all the same stuff, but I didn't know if that was also your.
Oh,
Like,
that is the Global Skywatch page that I created, that I'm an admin for the page too. So
Okay.
pages can act like people. You probably know this. Pages can act like people on Facebook. So that's my page that acts like a moderator within the group. Yeah.
Okay.
oh, so
'Cause,
is that still active?
Yeah, I was gonna say that one's still here. So you I don't know how
That's
that
correct.
works, but
Well, see, yeah, what happened is I actually kind of future-proofed my pages by adding, and my groups, by actually adding a trusted account of
that's what I was about
Laura's
to say.
account.
Okay.
So she's also an admin in these groups and these pages. So they're still there. Those are still there
Right.
because she's also adminning them. And I did this specifically in case I ever lost my account. So
That's
Yeah.
that's very smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
How about
actually,
that?
because that was one of the things I was gonna say is if you haven't already, when you do get access back, because I'm sure you will, it's not difficult to get. I mean, it's not difficult. It's just time consuming and tedious because Facebook both is and is not run by people. I used to know a ton of people who worked for Facebook doing things like basically make like moderators in a way, like through the website, like helping people get access to their pages. I think it's weird that now you have to contact Meta and have a verified badge, so you have to pay for access to your own account. That's really frustrating. That makes me want to strangle somebody. But if
Yeah,
you
they hold
haven't
everything
already, I was
hostage.
gonna
Yeah.
say you can add a trusted accounts, trusted people or whatever, in for your regular profile as well as pages, which I'm sure you already knew. But yeah, that's something you can also have people write into them and say like, hey, I am also somebody who knows this person very well, like, I'm gonna show you my activity log or whatever, and then they can be like, oh, okay, you're a real person. I think it's weird that you have to send a selfie. I had someone reported my my original Facebook account that I had from the very, very beginning of Facebook. She reported it just to be a skanky personality, and I lost access to my account. And yeah, they wanted me, in order to get access back, to send them my government ID and a bunch of stuff, a selfie and all those things. And I didn't mind that, but I didn't want that information on Facebook. And then they retroactively changed all of my information to show my legal name and stuff, which actually put me in danger because at the time my stalker was like, oh, hey, that is you. And I was like, dang nabbit. And no matter what I wrote to them about, like, hey, I need to change my name, they were like, nope, because you proved that you were you and this is your account. You have to have your government information on here. And I was like, well, that's not good. So that's something I tell people to be careful with, is like, maybe don't always give social media your driver's license and IDs and stuff too. But
Yeah, you can't reinstate it if you don't, though.
yeah,
They'll
so
ask for
it's
it.
kind of like a
ID,
catch-22.
yeah.
It's like, I don't want you to have more of my information, but you kind of
They shouldn't have your
in
driver's
order.
license number. I find that to be a highly sensitive issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if we have our social security numbers on there, but yeah, it's just none of their
No.
business, quite honestly. It's social media, and they have enough data.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. It's just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and the thing I really am disturbed about is the amount of power they have, because when we were researching this, there are so many people we read about that lost their businesses, their businesses were dependent on Facebook page. All their contacts were on Facebook. And I know that you wish these people were more savvy and saying, yeah, make sure you copy out, but you don't think it's going to happen to you because you're being a good person. You're doing everything right. You just don't think it's going to happen. So all these people so many people have suffered. So I actually, like I said in the last hour, I got a domain called deletedbyfacebook.com. I don't have the domain actually active yet, but a lot of people on YouTube, you'll see that hashtag deleted by Facebook. And so I said, I'm going to go see if the .com, if that domain's available. I fully expected it would not be available and shocked to find that it was. Wow. And so I'm like, grab it. So I'm going to grab it. And if I am not, after putting all my work into this, I will try to get a whole bunch of people together and see if I can. This is another, like, I'm not busy enough already, right? But I will try to take on this project a little bit and see if we can get people to get an attorney and just see if we can just get their attention. I don't want to cause problems for Facebook. I just want my account back. I just want to be able to communicate with my friends and be with my activist people. That's what I want to do.
Well, there's no reason for them to take it down, but obviously it was, a lot of people signing up, so that's a big deal.
Yeah,
they start tracking that stuff.
It's very strange that they just did that without any like warnings to your account or any like notification of like, hey, this is kind of weird. And I know they've been doing that to a lot of people lately, though, like all the social media. That's what happened to my TikTok for a while, was they banned me from having access. I couldn't post, I couldn't comment, I couldn't share stuff, and I had to like give them my ID again. I had to give them my ID because I was making money. Allegedly, they stole my money, but whatever. Stupid TikTok. I hate social media so much. But typically they give you a few warnings at least. But yeah, with Facebook, some people just lose access. If you get hacked, Facebook or Instagram, it's almost impossible to get your stuff back without jumping through hoops, and it takes months, and they respond to people at their beck and call, not yours, and on their time. And since their time apparently means more, but most of them aren't doing anything anyway, they're just hanging out. I don't even know, like, I don't know if you guys ever saw like the videos of the social media influencers who were working for Facebook, who were showing you around the Facebook campuses and stuff. Those people don't do piss all most of the day. There's not a single fish that they give to the people around them, and it's super frustrating that they get paid like, $150,000 a year minimum to just piss off all the time. But I do hope you get access to your accounts and stuff back soon. I hope it's not as much of a pain in the ass as it is for some people, especially because you have so many people in your group. Like, there is a way to very easily verify that you are you, and I hope that they get that back. I'm glad that you have enough admins that people are like, hey.
The moderators are great. I've had 4 people call me in the last couple of days saying, we haven't seen you posting and so on. So I did I mailed all my moderators. I have them on a group, and I asked them about, I actually created a graphic for this show, because normally I will post a graphic announcing this show. And I asked them, and a couple emailed me back, said, yeah, we're going to get this up for you. No worries, So, good people, so much of my social life is online. I mean, no, I shouldn't say, I'm wrong in saying that, not so much. 99.99% of my social life is online. I live in rural Maine. I know almost nobody in Maine except a few family members, and I work out of my house. So I literally have very little contact with other people. And so when I lost my account, my heart absolutely dropped, because I was in the middle of reuniting with some high school friends. I had chats, DMs going with them. What have you been up to? Hey, we got a call soon. We should talk. And then next time they go, they're just going to see nobody there. I don't know how to get in touch with them. And so, and it's heartbreaking. It was one of my old bandmates that was in an early group of our band. And I'm just like, I thought, oh, this is so cool that we've gotten in touch with each other, and that kind of stuff, And so now it's just so, because we're dependent on this. And I kind of have this, I think you might feel the same way, is you just get this hatred of this fact that so much power is in the hands of this group of people who doesn't care. They don't care. If they cared, great. If they looked out for their people, fine. I don't care if you're rich. I don't care if you have a ton of power, as long as you're a moral person. You know, just be
Oh, they're
good.
not, though. They don't care. Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care. In fact, they're more than not caring. They're the ones who are spreading disinformation and putting
Mm-hmm.
fact checkers up that are run
Yeah.
by the pharmaceutical companies and so on and so on. It's absolutely, you know, you have to laugh. I don't laugh to make it light. I laugh because it's the only way you can cope with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly.
I still think they should be zeroed out with their billionaires' bank accounts. I think that would be appropriate. I don't think they should have any money at all at this point.
Yeah,
So
they
I
should
I'd
be
like to see
wouldn't.
the
forced to
total turn.
redistribute to the rest of us to
I
pay
really
back for
believe that.
everything
I really
because
do. Yeah, I think that
it's
can
so
happen,
frustrating.
actually. I just think it's enough is enough already with this whole manipulative environmental condition. But by the way, we're almost out of time here. I'm so glad you both were on tonight. And Russ, so your Global Skywatch is still alive, and people can go over there and access it. And of course, there is that one page on Facebook that you can have everybody get on there, right?
Yep.
But you wouldn't be able to see it.
No, they can actually see it. Go to would tell people if you're on Facebook, go to Global Sky Chemtrails Global Skywatch 2 because they shut down our original one that had 192,600 people, and they shut that down in February 4th, 2021 for no good reason. So we're building it all over again. So yeah, Chemtrails Global Skywatch 2, that's the group that's growing very rapidly. So please check it out.
Nice. Awesome. And then of course your websites are still active, right? The multiple websites or no?
Yeah, no, the websites, I run all those. I'm an IT guy. I ran all
Okay,
my
very
own
good.
websites and emails. So yeah, globalskywatch.com. In fact, you can get to the group by clicking the Facebook icon at the top of the globalskywatch.com website. We have a link right there. Just click on the Facebook logo. It'll take you right to the group on Facebook. And we also have a MeWe group with 3,000 people in it. If you want to go to
So I forgot
MeWe,
about MeWe. Yeah, I signed up for that a long time ago. I don't even use it. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, it's not nearly as active as Facebook because
right.
Facebook
Yeah.
is absolutely enormous. But I did choose MeWe. I looked at all the different social groups and I said, you know what? We're members of them, but MeWe really was one of the faster, more
Yeah.
keeping up with things groups. So we went ahead and got a group there, and it has 3,000 plus members in it. So
It's wonderful. Wow, I'm in there
yeah,
somewhere, I'm sure. I haven't looked at that account for eons. My goodness, that's a reminder I need to check. I know when we were kind of going through all this different social media when they were creating all this, sanitization and censorship. So, yeah, it's just been crazy. And Zoe, it's so nice to have you here. I do want everybody to stay tuned for Shine Side Out with David Dunjomeki coming up next to send you on to the Night from Down Under with their fabulous show. Not sure what they're talking about, but I know it's always wonderful. And of course, we have a few minutes plus or minus here, so we can keep navigating a little bit. And Zoe, your Omnium-Gatherum, you had a fantastic show before me, and of course,
thank
give
you.
everybody a rundown when they can listen
Yeah.
to your shows if they didn't hear it.
Well, if you're interested in just listening, you can tune in Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. Thursdays 4 to 6 p.m. EST Studio A. Fridays 4 to 6 and then 6 to 8. I say it like that because 4 to 6 is definitely me solo, and 6 to 8 I'm hoping on Fridays to have more frequent guests. And then Saturdays I am 10 to midnight EST. Tonight I had my friend Olin on, who is an author, and I love having Olin on. He's great. He's a friend of mine that I met over the internet, and he's been my biggest supporter online for a long time. And I'm Twitch streaming right now, and I'm recording through OBS. So what I'm going to do is break it down, the first half of this, what will be like a 4-hour video. It'll be the Omnium-Gatherum show. I'm going to start trying to put this stuff on YouTube. Twitch saves it for a few days, about, I think, 7 days total. And then if you don't do anything with it, it just kind of disappears. So I'm going to work on some highlights and things. If you'd like to tune in, you can look at my Twitch. It's twitch.tv/MissBeTheCat if you want to watch. Otherwise, you can check Revolution Radio as always for the archives the following day. So Thursday and Friday shows are available right now, and you can listen to the last 2 years. Oh my god, today is officially the 8th. I've been on the radio with my own show for 2 years. Holy cow. That's
Congratulations.
crazy.
Happy anniversary.
congratulations,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Happy birthday. Yeah, I'm gonna do a birthday stream on Thursday, I think. I might have Lombi from Strange Universe join me. I don't know if he's still available on Thursday or not, but I'll definitely be doing Thursday. The 12th will be my birthday celebration show. But yeah,
Very
otherwise,
nice.
I Miss Be the Cat on pretty much all the internet stuffs that people use, so you can catch me there, or go to Enter the Kaleidoscope direct.me/enter_the_kaleidoscope_. But you can get to all that through my Miss B page. It's much easier. It's
You're
too many
everywhere.
things to juggle, but this, I will clip this. I'll put it up under. I'll send you the video, Solaris, if you want to.
As long
so
as
you
it
can put
doesn't
on
get taken
yours.
down, I don't want you to get in trouble.
I don't think it'll get taken down. I think it'll be okay. But I'll definitely post this on Facebook too for Russ. For anyone that's interested.
Okay.
If anybody
Let's see
where that
rolls.
his group wants to see it, I'll post it in the Global Skywatch group.
Oh,
if
the
you're okay with
video.
that.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you.
That's very sweet.
Congratulations on 2 years.
Thank you.
Too.
Thank you. It's very exciting. 2 years and I'm up to 3 shows already. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Wow.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's
Moving
how you
right
do it.
along. Yep, exactly.
It's all thanks
You
to
guys are
Solaris.
wonderful.
I wouldn't be here without her. So
No, I just
it's very
recommended
exciting.
get out there and do the radio. She does fabulous,
So,
as you well know. And Russ, it's always a pleasure to have you here. You know, you're always welcome whenever you want to be on the show. Just give me a shout. Of course, I know Zoe will have you on as well, and it's kind of fun to have you as a co-host, Zoe, so we can sit here and hang out with Russ and have all kinds of good conversations. It's been
I always
a
have
really
great
wonderful
time.
show.
So
Yeah, me too.
Me
It's
too.
good data. I mean, it's so important that people register this information, and I always like it. I tell you what, it really helps everybody and puts the pieces of the puzzle together
indeed.
so far as what's happening here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Guy, for both of what you're doing. I appreciate it so much. Very much.
Too. And we hold
Yeah.
a bright vision for you to get your page back. And I don't know how much you have to pay. $13? Is that what she said?
Yes.
$12?
I think that's
I think
so
so,
Yeah,
dumb.
it's
yeah.
all
They
about
make
the
you
money.
pay
I
to
bet
have
you they'll
access
reinstate
back.
it as soon as you give them some money. How selfish.
Give them
Yeah, I know.
$14 and they'll be like, yeah, here you go, no problem. Don't even have
That's
to
what I
submit
mean.
the paperwork.
So
We
dumb.
just fine. Stupid.
That's all
Yeah.
they want.
Yeah. Just got it. Just have them have that monthly subscription money coming in. I mean, that's what
That's
it
really
takes,
what
I
it
guess.
boils
So
down to. I
over
think they're going to do it to everybody.
subscriptions.
With that being said, we're going to sail on out of here. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Russ, have a wonderful night, and thank you again. And Zoe, thank you, dear. Love you.
Yeah, love you
Good
too.
night,
You too.
everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Take
Good
care.
night. Good night, guys.
Good night.